Welcome to another episode of the Small Business Show. I just am really excited because we've got a really local story to talk about today.
We do, and I think it's important to stay local and invite guests along who can inspire our viewers. You know, how did they start? Did they have any setbacks? You know, where are they going in the future?
I think it's also nice to be able to spend a whole show with one guest, and actually it just extends that conversation, because we always find we get short on time.
I know, we want more time, don't we?
Absolutely. So this is good. And we're going to do a little more of this too, so I think it's important that we share some real successful stories in the community, and this is a good forum for doing it.
Yeah, and I'm sure there'll be lots of tips for our viewers, and they'll learn a lot from our special guest.
Absolutely, but we're not going to mention who that is yet,
it's a
right?
surprise.
Because we want to open the show first. But, you know, stay tuned. We're going to definitely have some more people coming that way. But I think, you know, the other thing too is just it's nice being in the studio too, you know.
Yeah, I do love the studio. It's got better lighting, makes me look nicer.
Well, I'm going to leave that right there, but I do like the studio. It's a little more convenient, right? So it just allows us to be able to do some different things with the show. So it's going to be
Steve.
exciting to see what we're going to do. But we'll say that for a different day, and we'll be right back on the Small Business Show. Nice to see you back on the Small Business Show. We get to go to a really nice story today, and I'm going to turn it over to Linda to sort of share that information.
Yeah, I think I should share it because I've stalked this poor guest for over a year, and he's been all over the world, and I've persevered. And we have Michael Litt, Vidyard. I'm sorry, I don't know you right. Are you a CEO or something, Michael?
Yes, my title officially is CEO.
Okay.
I often refer to myself as a co-founder, though.
So, co-founder Michael Litt from Vidyard, thank you so much for coming along and sharing your time with us.
Happy
and
to
as
be here.
Steve indicated, you have, I think, quite an amazing story because you're a local person, aren't you? A local guy.
St. Mary's Hospital, born and raised.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've got some homegrown fame here.
Yeah.
What is Vidyard? First of all, please tell the viewers what Vidyard is, because we know what it is, but they may not know.
Yeah, so Vidyard is a video platform for business. What that means is we help our customers market, sell, and support their customers with video.
Great. Yeah, and do they need that support, I guess, otherwise you wouldn't still be in business.
Absolutely, yeah, and I mean, the way we kind of came upon the opportunity was my co-founder, Devin Galloway, also a local, and I met at the University of Waterloo almost 14 years ago now, believe it or not.
That long? Wow.
Yeah, and during that kind of first meeting, we started working together, and we had lots of fun through undergrad, and we ultimately decided we wanted to start a business together. And that first business we started was a small services business designed to produce video for companies, to help them explain to their customers how to use
I think video is such
products.
an important tool, and I don't think there's enough people to really understand how it's important and how to use it within their business. So can you share a little more about why it's important for business to think about using video as one means of communication?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in today's world, many businesses can be truly global. One of the limitations of being global is that you can't get this FaceTime. It's difficult for me to do this with, say, our customers in Japan, unless I'm jumping on a plane and going there. And so we always kind of suggest that video is the next best thing to being there in person. And until teleportation exists, which we're working on, we're working on it.
Maybe one day, eh?
Yeah, we're working on it. But until that exists, it's important to be able to kind of represent yourself and your body language and the passion and emotion for what you do with video. Another thing is, you know, if a picture is worth 1,000 words and a video runs at 25 frames per second, how many words is a video worth? And so it's another really great way of engaging your audience. And marketers have been using video for a very long time, obviously through television, through advertising. What we're seeing now is that video communication and kind of asynchronous video communication. So I leave you a video message in your inbox is becoming a really compelling way of prospecting and developing sales, and we have a product that helps you do that. Same thing goes for customers that are trying to understand how to potentially use your software or interact with your company. If there's something that you can record on your screen as a video and send that to them, and they can watch that and then better understand how to perform those actions or how to solve that problem, it tends to be a much more tactical way of solving that problem than going through a list of instructions in an email or a list of instructions on
I think it's much more fun. But did you think about this video platform way back when you were with your friend in university? Is that the first business that you thought of?
No, the very first business we thought of was the video production business.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason for that was during our tenure at the University of Waterloo, we both studied systems design engineering at the University of Waterloo, which is a co-op program. We worked for a number of companies that were using video to market to their customers, to sell to their customers, and to support their customers. And I had contracted a number of businesses to do that video work as an employee, and the videos were always very expensive, and they were kind of poorly made. And I was always really passionate about video. My grandfather gave me kind of a VHS camcorder as a kid, and I carried that thing everywhere. I was always the one at family events, or when my friends and I would go skiing at Chicopee in the terrain park, I would record them.
It was in your blood.
Jumps. Yeah, video was absolutely in my blood.
Wow.
And then every school project I worked on kind of came along with a video, and that became a big part of my contribution. So we knew we could make videos better than a lot of these businesses, and that's exactly what we started doing.
But I think that's the big challenge, is a lot of people try, well, everybody's got a phone, right?
Yeah.
So to try and make a video, but they need to make a quality video. And I think one thing I like about the platform that you guys have, and I remember getting a marketing piece by email, I think it was, and I had to put a few pieces in, and all of a sudden I saw my name on a birthday cake or something like that.
Oh,
and that connectivity with that, right? I just think that just as an example is just, there's a lot better ways of doing it, and I think, you know, you've created a platform that a lot of businesses can use to improve it.
Yeah.
You were doing video production, and you were doing it well, and you were probably making money from it. So why did you change from that aspect to the platform per se for, you know, other people's videos?
That is the question. So when we delivered a video to our clients, they always wanted to know, how do I place it on my website?
Yeah.
And then once we helped them do that with a product like YouTube, they wanted to understand who was watching it and how many views they had, and if a certain account was watching it. And we had no solution. There was nothing that existed on the internet that kind of had that capability.
And were you going ding, ding, ding?
Yeah, and you know, we studied engineering and ultimately knew how to build the software. And so a few classmates and us started working on the technology to support those companies. And then we realized, hey, if the company's paying us, you know, Y or X for this video, would they pay us a fractional amount of that project on a per month basis to host and provide the analytics and the data? Because it's kind of an interesting business model. It allows us to interact with the client on the long term, and it also allows us to extract longer term value out of that client base. And if we can keep them happy and produce more videos for them and work with more clients, all of a sudden we'll have this kind of monthly recurring aspect of our
I think the businesses are getting smarter and cluing into that, because the metrics and the analytics, because you can throw a video up, but you really don't know what kind of feedback you're getting or who's seeing it. And I think building that as part of the package is an important tool.
And nobody else was doing it at this time.
No. And so what we realized was the scale of the software business could be orders of magnitude larger than the video production and services business, because the video production side, you know, we were limited based on how many video producers and people we had in the organization. And we were also limited based on our ability to sell the next project versus this kind of monthly subscription. Now, of course, the monthly subscriptions were very small. We would do video projects for $20,000, and the hosting and analytics fee would be a very small portion of that. So we continued to build that base, and this was while we were still in school, while we were in undergrad.
That's just amazing.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about the University of Waterloo is that they don't take any IP or intellectual property in what you build as a student. And so we were able to graduate with a technology that we were able to commercialize and with customers, just based on kind of the way the university's programs are set up, which was really exciting. And so we ended up applying to a program in Silicon Valley called Y Combinator, which is an investment program for technology startups. And a friend of mine, a roommate, Eric Mijakovsky, he was the co-founder of the Pebble smartwatch.
I remember that guy,
That's the highest grossing Kickstarter of all time. So he had gone to Y Combinator just before us, highly recommended we go. And when we got there, they said, you need to stop producing videos and focus on the software business, because there is a world of video producers out there that can leverage and utilize your technology as well. And that's really when we made the transition into a software business.
This is so good to hear for people out there, isn't it? To know they can change business halfway through.
For sure.
Well, I think the other thing, just that local connection with the university, not maintaining IP property, it allows them, they're smart, it allows them to allow people to grow fairly significant businesses and still maintain that relationship. And I think that's such a critical part of it.
And of course, you know, these businesses grow and then they start hiring co-op students, right? And this cycle continues. And you know, the vast majority of businesses in town that are operating now at some significant scale in this tech startup space have University of Waterloo founders at the helm.
Did you have any doubts at all you were doing the right thing? Did you have any doubts that it might fail?
Yes, absolutely.
And that's the worst bit, isn't it?
Yeah. So, you know, we were living in a time, which still exists today, where many of our classmates were moving to Silicon Valley to work at Google and Facebook and Amazon's search program, which is called A9, and they were making a lot of money right out of school, and it was very attractive. And you know, we could see these people on Facebook with their fancy condos, their big screen TVs, their cars, and you know, we were living in a student residence. We had no office. You know, we were barely able to pay the bills.
Wow.
We're leveraging grants and those types of programs, but it created kind of a chip on the shoulder, right? To try to drive to that level of success, and that was absolutely motivating.
That's a very strong motivator.
Made you more determined.
Absolutely. And we had a really great support network in that the house I was living at had Eric Mijakowski as a roommate, who was working on the Pebble smartwatch, my brother, who was doing some real estate development, a gentleman named Andrew, who was building 3D printers, and a gentleman named Dan, who was building a social media analytics platform at the time. And so we had this kind of entrepreneurial house where we were all supporting each other, and it felt very normal. Yeah. And you know, we all had big visions, and we were kind of working off of each other. And the density of that kind of ecosystem, in large part, is what kind of Communitech creates in this community. It's what the Velocity Garage does. Yeah. And I think there's something powerful about that peer network.
You know, I really want to get into that story even more, but we're going to take a small break here, and we'll be right back at the Small Business Show. So now we get to continue with that conversation. We're really just getting into it with Mike Litt from Vidyard. I think it's important to really come back to the community, because I think there's such a strong story there. And you know, just in the break we were talking about Summer Company and just how that was a role in your life in terms of how it benefited you and where it took you to the next level.
So first of all, what is Summer Company? Because not everybody might know.
Yeah, so Summer Company is a program run at the Small Business Center at the City of Kitchener, and it basically gives you a grant to start and launch a company into some form of revenue during the period of time, which is the summer. And it aligns you with mentors, and again, there's that peer group of people that are doing something possibly similar to you, that you can kind of bounce ideas off of and create that network of empathy and compassion for yourself. Is
this before university? Was this?
No. So you know, there's a good spread of people in the program, I would say. There was definitely kind of later stage high school students, all the way through to I'd say university students. I think there's possibly an age cutoff at some level in the program. I'm not too sure.
But you snuck in.
Yeah, well, I was definitely within the demographic, but I was the only software business. And what had happened was I was working in Silicon Valley at a company called Cypress Semiconductor, and I was in a product management role, and I had contracted a company to make some videos, and Devin, who's my co-founder, flew out to drive back to Waterloo with me, because it's hard to be in California with a car. And so I had this old Volkswagen Jetta diesel, and he flew out, and he didn't know how to drive standard.
I can just picture this.
Yeah, taught him how to drive a manual transmission in the parking lot of a Safeway. Starter died, we left it there, went to see a Giants game, had a mechanic come fix the car, and literally the next day we were on the road back to
Oh
Canada.
my gosh.
And so he kind of learned on the I-80 between California and Utah, I would say. It's highway driving is not
it
that
makes
hard.
you so real
Yeah.
that you've had these kinds of funny
Oh, yeah.
moments.
But you wouldn't trade those experiences for anything,
Anything.
right?
No, absolutely not.
I
I
think
mean,
that's this quality in this story.
it's a beautiful thing, and on that trip, I mean, that drive a lot of people do over the course of a month, and we were trying to do it in 3 days. And so you're doing 16 to 18 hours a day in the car, and you run out of stuff to talk about really quickly. And so, you know, we were crammed in this car, and we started talking about ideas to start a business. Devin had a kind of history of being an entrepreneur, as did I. Small things up to that point. He helped me get a co-op placement at BlackBerry, and during that time, we spent time day trading together.
Nice.
Trying to make enough money to pay for our tuition. And so we knew that we collaborated well, and we wanted to ultimately
That's
do
important,
something together.
isn't it? Really.
Oh, that relationship is, you know, bar none, you know, one of the most important things. It really is a marriage in a way.
Yes, I agree.
Creating a partnership and creating a cap table
And the trust.
ownership in the business.
It's so fantastic because those relationships can go either way, right?
Yes.
And to have that predominantly friendship
That bond.
as part of it, and being able to work together and being good friends, but also being partners,
And respect.
that's not a very
The
common trait.
respect is fair. And also knowing who does what. I think the Reddit guy mentioned this when I heard him speak. You know, everybody in his early team knew that somebody had to do certain things. Everybody couldn't be the important one. Does that make
Yeah.
any sense?
Yeah, you have to have complementary skill sets.
That's the word
absolutely,
I'm looking
and
for.
You can't be fighting for roles or titles.
That's it.
Because in the early days, you know, what are you the CEO of if it's just two people? Right?
Yeah.
But that comes back to what you were saying earlier about, we asked what a title is, and you had to think about it for a second, because you look at yourself as a co-founder,
Yeah.
and not so much based on a figurative title. So that just speaks to it.
Yeah, I mean, we are a 200-person startup, right? And there are lots of problems to solve. And, you know, the meaning of being a chief executive officer is obviously to dictate and protect and support the executive team that is developing the various business functions. And that is absolutely a part of my job. And I have people reporting to me that are doing that. But I still bring the same level of passion to the organization that I think being a co-founder represents. And founder CEOs are very different than hired-in gun CEOs.
I
And
think so.
some of the biggest and most successful companies in the world in this industry are founder CEO led.
I think. Was there ever a time when you thought you were growing too fast and you were worried that you wouldn't be able to keep up with the momentum?
Absolutely, yeah. So going back to that drive from California, you know, we decided, and I guess the summer company interaction is we decided to start this video production company. I had one more co-op term left, and the University of Waterloo offers an e-co-op where you basically can take it off to start something. So it's the entrepreneur co-op.
Perfect.
And I needed to figure out a way to pay the bills, and so I came across the summer company program and applied, and was fortunate enough to be accepted, despite the fact that we were building this technology and it was going to be a longer term bet. So I really appreciate the bet, because that was really where I drew
That's
a
good.
salary from, and basically I lived off of $3,000 for a period of 6 months.
Really?
Yep. And we were able to do that because we were students, and that was our mindset. And you know, we never got into the trap of lifestyle and
Yeah,
committing
good.
to purchases and cars and houses.
That's
and
what a
those
lot of
things.
people
That
do
recognition really early is so important, because
Yeah.
you're talking about some of those other executives who've got all the swag and the fancy cars and the, you know, and the fancy condos, but it really is down to brass tacks.
Yeah.
You really need to be very conscious about where you're using your money.
Yep.
And so focused on your business that it's
All
critical
I need
to
to
the
do is
development.
survive, right? At that
Yeah.
stage,
That's a good word,
I just need
survive.
to stay alive and continue moving the ball along the field in terms of this goal that we have for the business we want to produce. And so, summer company program happened. We went through the final year of university after that, and graduated with some customers, and then immediately went to the Y Combinator program. And when we arrived at the Y Combinator program, Paul Graham, who's the founder, and Alexis Ohanian went through that program, the founder of Reddit, immediately after the very first 10-minute meeting said, okay, Mike, you're going to be the CEO, because I was the one doing all the talking. And
Yeah.
Devin, you're going to be the CTO, because you're, you know, clearly the smart one. And so, you know, this is going to be your world. And the amazing thing that Y Combinator does is it separates everything that doesn't need to happen in the business today from the things that do. And so Paul Graham's advice was find a meaningful metric in your business. Is that user growth? Is that revenue? What is it? And for us, it was revenue because we already had a product launched. And he said, grow that by 10% per week. And every time we talk, I want to hear about either why you hit that 10% threshold or why you didn't. Employment contracts, incorporation, tax filings, all that stuff, which is work, but is busy work, has nothing to do with finding customers or growing your business. And so they just get you hyper-focused on
So they
that.
basically strip out all of that clutter
That's
and
so
allow you to
useful.
focus strictly on product development and finding your
And
client.
takes away your stress of saying, well, we've got too much to do, we can't cope.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's easy for people to feel productive doing things that aren't productive.
That's a really good point for the people listening to you, isn't it?
Yes.
They feel like they're keeping busy and they're productive, but really they could do what you did and those things could come later.
Yeah, absolutely. And so to the feeling of, feeling like this thing is growing too fast.
Yeah.
The reality is we've always maintained that focus on customers and talking to customers and building product for customers. And we've been fortunate enough to find great people that function in supporting roles to make sure everything else is on side. That is not, my specialty. I don't know if you've heard of a DISC profile. It's a personality profile that looks at your level of dominance versus compliance.
Oh,
I'm a very low C. I am not a very compliant individual.
Well, we still like you.
I wasn't on time today, for instance.
That's okay.
It seems to me there was no jealousy, there was no power struggles. You've created, again, a large community of people working together for the good of the customers, the clients, because a lot of businesses, do you agree, take the money and there's no aftercare for the clients. You really care, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, we're building this this company to be something truly large and impactful. We're now over 1,000 customers globally, and it's afforded me the opportunity to spend time in Asia and Europe developing some of those channels, and it's just so exciting. And every time I'm out there with customers, I realize, we've only taken a very small sliver out of this big market, and so keeping the whole team and the whole company focused on the vision of tackling the solution, is I think how we keep ourselves grounded and aligned to our stakeholders. And of course, the customer is the number one stakeholder.
So that's
The visionary, I think, is important. And so you are the visionary for the company. Now, is there anybody that shares that with you, or is it?
I think it's
certainly a co-founder, maybe. But
yeah, absolutely. Devin and I share the same vision, and we've divided our kind of responsibilities according to what we're good at.
That's the best. I see so many arguments in that part.
And even to recognize personality.
Yes.
And to recognize what you're good at and what somebody else needs to be good at.
Yeah.
I think is so important. A lot of businesses don't take that into stock and do that properly.
Yeah, and then having that respect for who you are, what you're good at, and who your business partner is and what they're good at, and then maintaining the relationship outside of the construct of the challenges of the job is really important. So for instance, Devin, I decided to get married, not to Devin. Not to Devin.
Was he disappointed?
No, well, we asked him to be our officiant. And so he went and got his license from the Universal Life Church.
Oh, congratulations to all of you.
And he's getting married in 2 weeks, and he asked me to be his best man. And so, we've been at this now for a very long time.
So Mike, that journey is so important, and I really like that we've closed out on the show. We're just run out of time. We could go on, and we're just limited in terms of the amount of time we have.
Thank you so
but
much.
Thank you, Mike Litt from Vidyard. It was a great opportunity to meet you and have an opportunity to hear your story. And thank you for just sharing time.
I've just been enthralled with it all. I just want to hear more.
I wish we could, but we're going to have to close out, and we'll be right back on the Small Business Show. Welcome back to the Small Business Show. Unfortunately, we have to close out this episode today.
I know, and I'm very disappointed because we've had some marvellous guests, and I've been so into their stories and the tips they've been giving us. I want them all to come back.
Well, the thing is, the time just flies when you get into the conversations, and you don't really want to bring it to a closure, but, we have to, unfortunately.
Well, goodbye. We'll be back one day.
Well, on that note, we're just going to say thank you for tuning into the Small Business Show, and we'll see you on the next time.
Yeah, we'll see you again. Bye.